I run with vets that be hungry for power. I'm young, so for me it's sex, money, and power. I got a flaw. Nevertheless, we equal the same math. How we both in the ground, we sequel the same path. That history, couldn't believe the plane crashed, but it's sorta like the block when we moving that came fast. Watch the squad.
What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Maximilian Must Know. We've got what I think is a really unique fragrance for you guys to take a look at tonight from the classic French house that is Caron. And the fragrance is called Yatagan. And before we talk about the scent, let's do what we do here and talk about the house first. Caron is a classic house that was started in 1904 by a man named Ernest Daltroff. He had no formal training as a perfumer, but he had a love of perfumery. And that sort of started with him as a child, smelling the fragrances his mother would wear. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. So he went out there and he started his own house. He hired a woman named Felice Wampu to be the company's artistic advisor. She oversaw bottle design and packaging and marketing and became a huge piece of the company's success. There's rumors out there that Daltroff had a huge crush on her, but I guess he never formally or publicly admitted his love. The first fragrance that they did that gained any real notoriety was a fragrance called Narcisse Noir. And that came out in 1911. It was sort of immortalized as a character word in a film called Sunset Boulevard. The pair also introduced Tobacco Blonde in 1919, which was made to reflect the modern women and women who were comfortable being out publicly smoking cigarettes. They also made a face powder in the 30s that many in the industry believe was their finest product ever, and it is still sold and revered even today. With World War II approaching and with Daltroff being Jewish, he fled to America to flee Nazi persecution and left the house in his muse's capable hands, but he never returned to Europe. He died in 1947 in the United States, and she took over the house. She passed away as well in 1967, and as of today, a gentleman named Patrick Ailes owned the company, and a man named Roman Ailes runs it. Now, to me, one of the coolest things about this house is that most of their fragrances are refillable, and if you go to the boutique either in Paris or New York, the one in New York, I believe, is on East, I want to say 58th, between Lex and 3rd. It's right near my office. And they have these huge Baccarat fountains where you can get your fragrances refilled. They have 53 fragrances in their lineup. The earliest was released in 1911 and the newest 2014. Now, me personally, guys, I own 4 fragrances from Caron. My first was the absolute classic Pour Un Homme, which is a gorgeous vanilla and lavender scent. I also own one called Third Man and one called L'Anarchiste. Now, Third Man is a very classic, sort of dandy, men's classic fragrance. L'Anarchiste is very different. It's an orange blossom scent. Some say it was meant to smell like blood. Some say metal. It comes in a bottle that's meant to look like a gasoline canister. And it's really, to me, almost niche quality in terms of presentation, fragrance, and packaging. And I do look at Caron as a niche house personally. They only do fragrances and things of that nature. Lucky Scent sells them. So to me, they are a niche house, but we could argue about that all day, obviously. So Yatagan was my 4th purchase. I think this is the last I have to get on my list from the house. I like Tobacco Blonde. I don't know if I'll own a bottle of it. And the other pretty new men's fragrance that they did, at least in the last decade, was Yuzu Man, and then that just didn't do it for me. For Yatagan, I got a sample of this fragrance about 2 years ago. I got like a 5 ml decan of it when I bought a bunch of samples from a member of the Badger and Blade website. And it was just so different from everything else that I've ever smelled. I knew that I had to get a bottle of it. Now, this was released in 1978 by the house, and the name Yatagan is actually named after a Turkish saber. Yatagan is EDT in formulation, and while I've seen it for as high as $125, you can find 125 ml bottles like I have right here on Amazon for around $35, which is what I paid for it. The notes on Yatagan are woodsy notes, galbanum, patchouli, incense, artemisia, and mint. And the nose behind the fragrance is Vincent Marcello. You guys might know he also did Halston Z14, another classic men's fragrance. Now, as far as your presentation goes, Yatagan on the box, it has a textured material that's, I guess, made to look like not really sure. I don't know, maybe leather. It says Yatagan Eau de Toilette, Caron, Caron in the back. You have your batch code stamped at the bottom. And as far as your bottle goes, most of the Caron men's bottles are the same. Beautiful sort of Art Deco-y shape. You have the double C on the top and a very good atomizer. And the name of the fragrance is on the front. It's pretty heavy glass. And it does have Caron Paris etched or engraved into the bottom. So very nice presentation for the price point. Now, this is far and away one of the most unique fragrances that I have ever smelled. And I'm going to preface this by saying I really can't describe this to you guys. You got to get out there and you got to get your nose on it. But basically, I'm going to try to say it's a woody, spicy scent. I think that's the best way I can describe it. It's unbelievably dry. To me, there's not a hint of sweetness in this, but there is some incense and smokiness. What I get out of it more than anything else is almost like a desert sandstorm dustiness, if that makes any sense, like being caught in a sandstorm. The blend is just absolutely outstanding. There's so much going on within this fragrance. I definitely get mint and artemisia and lavender, and there's also a very faint animalic muskiness that's going on at the base of this fragrance. It's classic. It's a classic, complex Oriental fragrance. You sort of have to experience it to really understand it. But what you need to think about when you're trying to picture this fragrance is woods, incense, a sandy dustiness, artemisia, and some faint mint and lavender. This might be a better way to describe this fragrance. Imagine Terre de Hermes without the orange or the citrus, just that sort of dirty, soily earthiness. But instead of a soily, dirty feel, here you have a sandy, dry scent. And that's sort of what you will get with Yatagan. Now, performance is excellent for this price point. You can get 10 hours out of this without much of a problem. I don't think it projects that well, or at least not on my skin. To me, it's sort of more of a skin scent, which is okay because I'm not sure everyone's going to love this. Occasion-wise, it's a tough fragrance. You know, this is the type of fragrance that I think like Indiana Jones would wear. It sort of has that adventurous, exotic feel to it. But it might be tough to pull off in an office or wear as a date scent. I think it's a good cold weather scent, really made for fall and winter. I think a really strong woman who drinks scotch could wear this, but I think it'll probably do better on a man. Now, you guys know I like to say, well, if you can't get this or don't want it, what could replicate this experience for you? Well, not much. The only one I could think of that I would say kind of represents this or sort of is the Terre de Hermes without the orange, but there is a Etat Libre d'Orange, I forget the name of it, that Fragrantica likens this to if you look on the Yatagan page. Someone who was trying to sell you this fragrance would tell you that this is an amazing buy under $40. You're getting a niche quality fragrance with a beautiful presentation, and there's nothing out there that smells like this. Someone trying to dissuade you would probably say that this is sort of the same dilemma that Encre Noir has. Yeah, the fragrance is interesting, the presentation is nice, but where are you going to wear this? And that's the really only thing that I could say about this that might, push you to not be interested in it. But I like it a lot. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I think the versatility of this fragrance is the only problem, but and the versatility is a killer, as this one's going to be tough to pull off. But I love the concept of this, and I think that you need to, guys, I'm really recommending, go out there and explore Caron and look at what they have, because they have some great fragrances for very good price points. If you want niche but you can't afford niche, this is a great house to look at and sort of, get some idea of what these fragrances that aren't made by designers smell like, especially Pour Un Homme, which is a beautiful scent, and Third Man, this one, and Anarchiste. Those are all great fragrances, and I think you should be able to get all four for about $125, and that's a fair amount of juice. And you could get through, almost every season with those. So definitely give them a go. Hope you enjoyed this video.
You see them cops and they glisten the same flash, and they had you down and broken, straight locked up and paying cash. Get my lawyer, but I still carry my phone in the vest. Who else could get a call from Harry O in the West? He said he about to touch down with his pride and his honor.